What is going on, everybody? We are back with another review, and this time we're reviewing Alfred Hitchcock Presents Season 1, Episode 11. The episode is called Guilty Witness. It was directed by Robert Stevens. It looks like it was... I don't know why my screen is so far down, though. There we go. Sorry about that. It was directed by Robert Stevens. Story was written by Morris Hirschman. Teleplay was written by Robert C. Dennis. It starred Judith Evelyn as Amelia Verber, Joseph Mantell as Stanley Crane, and Kathleen McGuire as Dorothy Crane. The episode released December 11th, 1955. And yeah, also if you're watching this on the day that this video comes out, happy Friday the 13th. So anyways, we start off with a guy that works at a convenience store. He owns and runs a convenience store. He says some hi and bye to some people on the street, and he talks to people. When he goes inside, he is visited by a lady by the name of Amelia. And when Amelia Verber comes in, she seems to have a bruise, and he had just recently said hi to her husband. So you start to think, or you realize straight from the very beginning that he's very abusive. So the wife comes in to the store after she leaves, and Dorothy comes in and speaks to Stanley. Stanley's the guy who runs the store, but Dorothy comes in to talk to Stanley and to talk about her having the bruise and them fighting. And then we get a segue where they go back to where they're back home. And while they're home that night, you hear this just knockdown, drag out fight, knockout, drag down fight, however it's phrased. Huge fight though, and we're talking loud crashing and stuff. And then finally, it's just silence, nothing. So they think, he might have killed her. Well, the next day, she shows up in the shop to buy some candy and asks if she could borrow a very big box. He says yes. And so he brings the box to her place, gives it to her, and she goes on with what she does. So she then proceeds to avoid answering a phone call that came for her. They're also supposed to have a kid that the wife and husband constantly run into the baby carriage that's in the hallway over all the time. That belongs to the Verbers, who, like I said, they just recently had a baby. So it becomes this huge whodunit where this police investigator pretends to be a building instructor, comes in and investigates everybody's place, can't find anything, even drags the guy upstairs into her apartment, the main guy, Stanley, and they find the box that he gave her, and it's actually full of the children's toys, so that's not even a thing. And eventually, the wife just seems to be really, really all about pinning this murder on her, and I thought there might have been a chance that the wife of the main guy, Dorothy, might have been involved in the killing. And just because of how adamant she was about trying to find it and interrupting as well. So they eventually get to the basement later, like at the very end, they go into the basement, look through some crates, and don't find any bodies in the crates. But then all of a sudden somebody runs into the carriage that was usually upstairs in the hallway that's no longer up there, and they look inside the baby carriage, and that's where they find the body of Ben Verber. Sorry, I had to look up to see what his name is. That's where they find the body of Ben Verber. And then Miss Verber comes down the stairs and is like, my husband was getting ready to leave. He was packing up his suitcase and said that he was leaving with her and he wanted a divorce and was getting ready to walk out. and they were going to go to a different country together, so forth and so on. And she's like, so I killed him because he didn't want to pay to support his kid. He wanted to pay to support her. And that's when she looks over at the wife of Mr. Crane and says, who I really should have killed was you, because you're the one he was trying to leave for. And she charges over and attacks her, and they get into this little scuffle. And as the scuffle starts to continue on and the cop tries to break it up, they zoom in on the guy, the husband that's down there, who looks extremely panicky, and that's the end of the episode. So, most of the episode was really good. I really can get into a good whodunit. If I had a complaint, though, I feel like we've been spoiled in today's day and age. Again, this came out in the 50s, right? 1955. We've been spoiled in today's day and age because basically we have so many police shows, real and fake. You have true crime on one hand, but then you also have crime dramas, right? The ones I'm talking about are more the crime dramas, which I feel like, especially nowadays, are benefiting from all of the true crime shows that have come out, as well as people that get involved in telling stories that involve crime. All the people that get involved that know how true crime and figuring out a case works and whatnot. And so one of the benefits that we get is the more in-depth storytelling of how they come about finding things instead of just hard-nosed looking around. Like, that's definitely a product of its time. So we got more in-depth stories. And obviously a lot of crime shows, especially like you think of like CSI, there's usually like an overarching plot for the whole season that's kind of going on in the background. Kind of, I use that loosely. But then every episode's kind of telling its own little story of each crime that they're going through and looking at, right? Or Law and Order is another one that does that. There's a bunch of them. And then on top of it, I'm not a fan of the way that this ended. So she just tells a story. She says, you're the one that he was leaving with and I should have killed you, and we're just all of a sudden supposed to believe that was the case. Because then she just straight up attacked her. It wasn't like she defended herself from her for the accusation. She just straight up attacked her. Like, you have to think about the fact that there was the awkward interaction between both husbands in the very beginning. And it wasn't super awkward, but they just kind of said hi to each other, and then the guy went on his way. And then there was like a conversation. The wife of the main guy, Dorothy, was definitely very adamant on trying to find evidence that she killed him, almost like she cared too much. And I guess because of all that, we're just supposed to insinuate that it actually happened. The only problem is, you could play it as her just being extremely worried that there's a killer in the building. So, yes, I do have a problem with the way that it ended. It just ended way too abruptly and way too quickly. It's probably why it's going to be near the bottom of my list, at least so far. Obviously, doesn't take away my enjoyment for the season so far. It's just kind of a bump in the road. That happens with these shows. It's anthology. You're going to have some misses. You're going to have some hits. You're going to have some grand slams. That's just the joys of getting into anthology horror, right? So anyways, that is going to do it, guys. Thank you all for hanging out with me. And yeah, we'll see you next time. The next episode of this falls on my birthday. So we'll see you guys there. Peace.